welcome to Watching the Game. I'm your host, Idrees and joined today by Yunis. Week 9 of the NFL season is in the books, so we are about halfway through the season. Kind of went quickly, but, now that we are here, let's talk a little bit about, our mid-season power rankings. So, Yunis, who do you guys your top 10 going into the second half of the season?
So, my top 10 going into the second half of the season. So, I'm going to start off with my top 5. So, I have Pittsburgh at 1, Kansas City at 2. At 3 is a tough one, but at 3, I'm going to go Seattle, despite their loss to Buffalo. Still think they have potential, and especially since they're getting Jamal Adams back from IR. At 4, I think at 4 I have Baltimore. 5, you can throw in Buffalo. How about you?
I got Pittsburgh, 2 I got Kansas City. After that, I've got 3 Baltimore. 3 New Orleans, 4 Baltimore, 5 Green Bay. Then I would say 6 Buffalo, 7 Seattle, 8 Tampa, 9 Tennessee, 10 Miami. That's how I'm looking at it.
You don't have Arizona in your top 10?
Arizona's right outside of it. So is Indianapolis.
A very surprising number 10 over there with Miami in there.
Well, Miami did just beat them this weekend. Otherwise, I would obviously put Arizona.
Yeah, I see your point.
It's more of a momentum thing, as well as a record thing. So that's the way I see it. Then you got the middle part. You got Cleveland, Chicago, Vegas, the Rams, Arizona, Indianapolis, maybe Minnesota.
Maybe the Chargers as well.
Maybe the Chargers and the Panthers, the Eagles by default. And it's everyone else.
And the bottom half, you got the Jets, the Giants, football team.
The irrelevant teams,
The Cowboys.
Oh, God. That trash team, yep.
Cincinnati, Houston, Jacksonville. Sadly, you have New England in there.
Sadly.
And Detroit is on the outer edge. So is San Francisco.
Well, San Francisco could still be challenging for a playoff spot, but not anymore. Not with all their injuries.
Yeah.
I've got to say, Sunday was kind of weird because I don't know what the hell happened to Tampa Bay.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Didn't come out to play in any way, shape, or form.
Everyone expected it be a game of revenge for the Buccaneers. Now they have Antonio Brown for his first game for Tampa. They have all their weapons. I don't think any of their main stars were injured prior to the game. Yeah, they had everyone available, and yet they failed to score a touchdown and got blown out at home.
Seriously, it's like we were probably expecting this to be the game where they would really come out, show who they were, and instead they're probably now going to be a wild card team because they've got a tougher schedule left than the Saints, and the Saints have the tiebreaker over them. So, honestly, pretty disappointing outcome, but I guess to a degree, as long as they make the playoffs, it doesn't matter too much.
Yeah, they have the defense and they have the talent on offense. Yes, I wouldn't be surprised if they still ended up making a wild card spot. The thing is, for that game, New Orleans, it's not like, all right, Michael Thomas is back technically for his first game of the season. It's not like he had a breakout game. He had around like 5 catches for 50 yards.
Mm.
Drew Brees just distributed the ball well, and they played great as a team.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, they. I don't know what happened. I mean, 38-3. You'd expect that type of beatdown from the earlier game, the Cowboys-Steelers game, but instead, you got it in the game that everyone was hyping up. And even though everyone was hyping it up, everyone thought, oh, the Buccaneers would bounce back, they would win this game. And, I mean, they're probably praying now to not play the Saints again in the playoffs. That might not end well. I mean, Sean Payton absolutely outcoached Bruce Arians. Brady was seeing ghosts out there. And it wasn't even like, it's not even an amazing defense. It's a decent defense, but it's definitely not amazing. They didn't even try running the ball, which I get when you're playing good run defense, but they went 3 and out on each of their first 5 drives. Like, what is that?
It's not something Brady's used to. It's not something that we see out of Brady and his offense.
I don't understand. What happened with them?
I think it's just like one of those games where you have just a absolute mental collapse. I mean, nothing on all 3 phases was working for Tampa.
Seriously. So, then you had the earlier game, the Steelers-Cowboys game. Which, I mean, it doesn't matter. They won. But it was weirdly, the Cowboys were winning that game weirdly for the most part. I don't understand.
Yeah, I was a bit upset with the Steelers' defense in the first half. 75% of the game.
I mean,
this would be the game where they could let Dallas on top of you.
You'd think this would be the game they would really, establish themselves.
Exactly.
On both sides of the ball, and they just didn't. I mean, James Conner.
Part of that offensively was that Big Ben got injured in the first half.
He played through it. Even then, they couldn't run the ball.
Yeah, he came back in the second half.
They couldn't run the ball for some reason. I don't really know why.
Thing is, we got used to seeing Dallas's defense as bad because first couple of weeks of the season, their main linebackers were injured. Leighton Vander Esch, Sean Lee, and they're getting their linebackers back. They're getting Awuzie back from IR this week. Getting their players back. They were just banged up in their defense.
Maybe, but at the same time, Pittsburgh should have done better.
And no, I totally agree with you.
I mean, I guess if this is what the Dallas fans want, they want to look competent, they want to look decent, so that next year, dedicate the entire draft to defense, re-sign Dak, you come back, you should be much better. We'll see if they're actually able to do that, because that defense still needs a lot of work.
Yeah, definitely.
Probably the game of the weekend, though, was the Cardinals-Dolphins game. I mean, wow, that game was amazing. Battle of Tua versus Kyler. Second time in their careers, and Tua won again. They played at Alabama and Oklahoma in the playoff game a couple years ago. So this time, Tua with the Dolphins, he beats Kyler with the Cardinals. Real back and forth game between two very good offenses, or one very good offense and another that came to play today. I mean, the Dolphins' offense overall has been great.
Yeah, Arizona, man, Kyler Murray went off. He went for 283 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. He ran the ball for over 100 yards, included a rush touchdown as well. So an outstanding game.
Unreal game. Put up 31 points, and for some reason, at the end of the game. I don't know why, but Cliff Kingsbury on third and 1 and 4th and 1, he calls a pass play, not a run play, even though he's been running all over them. And then what's it called? And then he kicks the field goal, and the kicker missed it short.
Yeah, that was upsetting by Zane Gonzalez. And I think part of the decision made by Cliff Kingsbury is because their main big back, Kenyon Drake, was out
You didn't need
dealing
to
with a foot
lose.
injury or so. But Chase
Kyler
Edmonds
was
ran
the
the
one
ball about
running
25 times, so I still
run
don't
an option
understand.
play with Kyler, and he's got it.
He has it in him as well. So, yeah, that was a very controversial call by Kingsbury. 2 straight plays.
But in terms of Tua, I mean, wow.
Definitely a breakout game for Tua. I think this is the start as the spark for the Dolphins.
What about the Dolphins?
I feel like it's a spark for them. I mean, you look at their remaining schedule. The only expected loss is against Kansas City.
Yeah, they've got a very good shot.
Yeah, they play the Chargers, the Broncos, the Jets, the Bengals, Patriots, Bills, and Raiders. I mean, you could just expect they lose to Kansas City and to Buffalo. Overall, I think they could win.
Yeah, so in the AFC, you've got probably right now, you've got guaranteed playoff spots for, let's say, right now, the Steelers.
Division leaders.
Yeah, Steelers, the Ravens are probably going to get in. The Titans.
Chiefs.
And then the Chiefs. And then you got the Bills, the Dolphins, Colts, Browns, Raiders. They're fighting for the last spots. I mean, honestly, there's a Week 17 game where the Bills play the Dolphins. That could actually decide the AFC East at this moment.
Yeah, it could.
Obviously, we'll have to see more consistency from Miami.
And from Buffalo.
Both teams, honestly. Buffalo blew out. They didn't blow out. They beat Seattle 44-34. A lot of people didn't think they would win that game. I didn't think they'd win that game. But, it's basically they had the first 4 games of the year. They were 4-0. They were riding high. Then the last few games, they were 2-2. But they didn't look so good. You know, everyone was like, oh, maybe they're not actually that good. Then they just absolutely destroyed Seattle. They got a few takeaways. They hung 44 on them. You know, for the most part, they did very well that game. They play Arizona.
Yeah, they did.
So I want to see if they can do the same thing to Arizona. But Arizona's not going to let them pass just that easily on them.
Yeah, especially their defense. Their defense needs to play better. I mean, I expected it to be a high-scoring game since both defenses aren't the best necessarily. Seattle has a very weak pass rushing defense.
Yeah,
Buffalo's defense is, I guess you could say, mediocre.
Yeah, they've been struggling for sure. They shouldn't be, honestly. They both have a lot of talent.
Yeah, they definitely do.
I would like to say, what other games were there? There was the Bears-Titans game. Obviously disappointing. The Titans snapped their losing streak. I mean, maybe their defense is starting to wake up, which they kind of need. Their defense has been.
I think the game, the best game of the noon slate was the Panthers-Chiefs game.
Yeah, that was actually amazing. Carolina probably could have won that. They should have. I feel like they should have taken a Hail Mary at the end instead of a field goal. They really had no chance at a field goal from that far outdoors.
Yeah.
They really did test the Chiefs, though. I was surprised. I didn't think.
A great game by Carolina. They got Christian McCaffrey back.
This is exactly what Carolina wants to do. They want to look very good, but they want to keep losing. Let's see if they can keep building the team up. Maybe they like Bridgewater right now. Maybe they don't. We'll see about that. But they definitely want to keep losing these close games.
Yeah, they play another tough team, Tampa, trying to bounce back next week. They have Green Bay and New Orleans again.
You'll see. Those will look pretty good. And then what else is there? Oh yeah, so about the Bears, season on the brink now. They've got to win their next game, or else they might be in for an epic collapse. I still see them as like a back end wild card team who could make some noise in the playoffs, but right now they're not looking so good. Though at the same time, they've also played like 3 likely playoff teams. So they have that.
Yeah, if you can't beat these playoff teams, if you can't get it set,
That's
there's
true.
little.
That's true, but they did beat the Buccaneers. They did almost beat the Saints, who look like possibly the best team in the NFC right now. So honestly, we'll see about it, but they gotta start winning again.
It needs to start with a healthy and consistent offensive line.
Yes. Then there were a couple of other games, like what else?
Interesting one was Denver versus the Falcons.
Yeah, the Falcons almost blew it again, but this time not quite. They were up 34-13 at the beginning of the fourth. They only won 34-27, and the Broncos had the ball at the end. 23-20, the Giants over Washington. Seriously, I don't understand. Washington just can't beat the Giants, or Daniel Jones just can't lose to Washington.
Yeah, he's on fire again. So,
the Raiders beat the Chargers 31-26. God, Chargers fans just can't catch a break.
exactly.
Another close last play of the game loss. It's just wow.
Yeah, disappointing. And going back to the Giants versus Washington game, did you see that gruesome injury to Kyle Allen?
I didn't
It's
look at
like
it. I don't want to
Alex
see
Smith.
it.
It's like an Alex Smith type injury.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Washington QBs are cursed or something. This keeps happening.
Alex Smith taking over QB duties for the rest of the year, most likely.
Or they could give Dwayne Haskins another chance. We'll see what they do, but I don't think they will. And then Texans over the Jaguars 27-25. This is why, honestly, I'm not going to say he's good or something, or that he's great, or that he was even, like, decent. But, like, this is why you should probably take a QB at least every other year in the draft. Because you could easily stumble upon a decent backup. And you probably always need decent backup QBs just in case. So the Jaguars picked Minshew last year. He was pretty good. I'm not going to say he's a franchise QB, but I think he can be a very good backup QB in the NFL for a long time. Now they picked Jake Luton in the 6th round also, and he also looks good. I don't think he'll be great. I don't think he'll be even better than Minshew, but this is why you pick QBs often.
I agree with your point, but also look at the flip side. The Texans' defense is pretty terrible.
Yeah, the Texans suck. Oh my god, I'm trying to think if I'm a head coaching candidate this offseason, what team I would want to go to most. I don't know about going to the Texans or the Falcons just because of how in shambles the defenses are. And there's a pretty good chance they'll have to trade away J.J. Watt, too.
I don't know about trading away J.J. Watt, but you're going to have to find a way to get this team back and rolling. Deshaun Watson is not who we expect him to be. And this offensive line is similar to the Bears. Very inconsistent.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Then you had a couple, I think we said the Packers had blown out the 49ers on Thursday. The 49ers were playing most of their backups. The Vikings beat the Lions 34-20. I don't know what was up with Stafford this game. He was something was up with him.
Yeah, he had COVID earlier in the week. He ended up testing, had two negative tests, so was able to play. Then I think he got a concussion around the third quarter, and
Mm,
Chase Daniel took over.
yeah, that makes sense. It was not a good game for them. Um, and then the Ravens beat the Colts 24-10. Maybe the Ravens are getting rolling again because they need this, but they need to get the offense. The offense still needs to get a little better going into the rest of the season. I don't know if it's a Greg Roman thing or a lack of receivers thing, but they've got to get it going soon.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And if they get a nice win against New England on Sunday night, I think that will get the ball rolling into Thanksgiving game against Pittsburgh.
They'll need that. And then lastly, the Jets beat or no, not the Jets beat them. The Patriots beat the Jets 30-27 last minute field goal. I guess we could say Trevor Lawrence ain't that good because Bill Belichick is definitely letting the Jets get Trevor Lawrence, you know.
I mean, hey, look at the flip side of it. Just got something going. I mean, maybe it was just New England's defense playing
Yeah, New
poorly,
England
but
was
I
playing
think,
without a lot of starters due to injury, so I wouldn't read too much into it. Joe Flacco is goated though.
yeah, man, the Jets played with their. I think they got their receiving core back. Most of them were injured half the season, so
I wouldn't read too much into it. Alright. Next week in the NFL, we'll be talking about some off-season decisions halfway through the season. But today, we'll be moving on to our college football segment. Let's talk about the big game over the weekend. National TV. Notre Dame beating Clemson 47-40 in South Bend, leading to a big COVID party at midfield, but we can deal with that later. Uh, I was Ian Book surprised me this game. I did not expect him to play that well.
yeah. As a Notre Dame fan, even I didn't expect Ian Book to play decent, but that's definitely what Notre Dame needed to win. And what a game!
Indeed, oh my god, like from all phases. I mean, Clemson was leading late in the game. They got a good touchdown drive. They were up 33-26. Then Book leads them down the field, tie it with less than 20 seconds or something like that. Then they both score quickly in overtime, and then Notre Dame scores first and second overtime, and then obviously Clemson was playing without Trevor Lawrence, who was for some reason allowed on the sidelines because that makes sense. But
Yeah, I know,
DJ
right?
Uigalele had a great game till the last possession of overtime. He took 2 sacks, and then he threw like a weird check down pass on 4th and 20. I don't know what they were doing on that play, but they ended up losing. Right now, I think this is like on Notre Dame. They haven't been great all season, but they only have one game that we should think, oh, this team might beat them on the rest of their schedule. That's North Carolina. They beat them, even if they lose to Clemson in the ACC championship game. They should be making the playoff. And Clemson, if
I
they can
definitely
just
see that. Even if they lose to North Carolina, even if they lose to North Carolina, I still see them as the number four.
2 losses, I don't know about that. If they got 2 losses, I wouldn't bet my money on that.
Yeah, I see your point.
Clemson needs to win the rematch in the ACC championship game. I think they will with Lawrence back, but their defense has to be better. Oh my god, it's not been good
Oh,
lately.
yeah, that was terrible defense by Clemson. Not something you would like to see on Dabo Sweeney's Tigers.
Everyone's been talking about Brett Venables as a head coaching candidate. He's not exactly looking good DC this year. Still, probably the game. Is it the game of the year? In college football so far, I would think so.
Yeah, I definitely think. So far it's gonna be the game of the year. I doubt like looking forward to the other schedules. Maybe the championship games could be better, but I don't know. I so far see this as
So
the
this is
game of the
why
year.
like we should put Notre Dame in the ACC permanently. I don't really see any reason to not be in there, but it is what it is. Let's see some other games. The other big game of the weekend was Florida Georgia. Florida beat them 44-28, handing Georgia their second loss and effectively getting them out of the playoff race this year. Florida, like I said, they're still in there for the playoff. I really think they will. I think they will win out and they'll beat Alabama and they'll get in. And that offense is
You think we'll beat out Alabama?
their offense is insane. And I
Kyle
honestly,
Trask has been on fire. He threw for over 450 yards and 4 touchdowns.
their defense, it has a talent. It can do something like that. It can get better over the rest of the season. So
I mean, that would be a major upset.
Kyle Pitts, I hope if Kyle Pitts is okay, because he got injured, I think he'll be okay. But if he's okay the rest of the year, I really do think they will. Georgia, I don't know what the hell is up with Georgia or JT Daniels. I mean, they came into the year with like, oh look, we got Jamie Newman, we got JT Daniels. One of these two guys is gonna be great. Then for some reason Newman opts out and is like, okay, whatever, JT Daniels. And now he hasn't played a game yet. Maybe he's still injured or something. The other two QBs, Dwan Mathis and Stetson Bennett, have been trash. Now their season, they could maybe still make a New Year's Six bowl, but playoffs are out of the picture at this point.
And what do you think about that Indiana-Michigan game?
I think I'm starting to get worried about Jim Harbaugh. I'm still on with my bold prediction that they win the championship next year. But that was bad. These last two games have been really bad. Or maybe Indiana is very good. These last two games have been bad.
Yeah, man, maybe we're
I thought Indiana would,
Indiana.
I thought Indiana would get screwed because they kept throwing the ball late in the game for some reason. Then they got an interception. They finally started running the ball. I was like, fuck, like, are they trying to do a full of Falcons here or something? But luckily they won. So now they're ranked 10th.
Yeah, man, Joe Milton literally threw 18 completions and had 17 incompletions. But he had a pretty decent game, throwing for over 300 yards and so.
He could do better. Though at the same time, it was a windy day apparently. His last interception, you could definitely tell it was like, oh, got caught in the wind.
Yeah, definitely.
So Michigan right now could be looking at a 500 season, which it's not the worst thing in the world when it's like this weird season, but still, they came in with expectations like, come on, the only game we could really lose is to Ohio State, and now they've lost 2 of the games. So it's not looking very good for Mr. Harbaugh. Let's see. BYU beat Boise State 51-17. Now, Boise State's QB got injured early on, but this was still a beatdown. I mean, BYU, they're looking like a possible playoff team out there.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think. I mean, Boise State was their toughest team as yet, but I mean, you look down the road, they don't really have a tough schedule so far. They only have 2 more games on their schedule, but obviously that's going to change with Alabama and San Diego State.
Yeah, I don't know. This is the problem with being an independent like this.
Yeah.
If they end up undefeated though, and there's no fourth like really good team, they could just get in, just like that.
I mean, I think BYU is like if I remember right, the 2016 or 17 Central Michigan. They went undefeated and still got ranked like number 9.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, I just think in this weird year they could actually do it. They could actually put in a mid-major. Well, I don't know, but we'll see. Also on Friday there was Miami barely beating NC State 44-41. That game was much better.
Yeah, that was a hectic game.
Derek King is a monster. I think I'm not gonna. He could be pretty good in the NFL, honestly. Some teams have got to check him out.
Yeah, another amazing game from him. Threw for over 400 yards, ran for over 100 yards, had 5 touchdowns in the process.
Also in the same boat as BYU, Cincinnati, they beat Houston 38-10. Cincinnati has played better teams than BYU though, so if it came down to those last two, then they're not going to do like a play in between them. It would probably go to Cincinnati.
Yeah, it would. Because I mean, Cincinnati, as you said, they do play the tougher teams because they're not in the independent division. I mean, their schedule was also pretty easy, facing East Carolina, UCF, Temple, and Tulsa.
AAC though, they played some good teams. They played SMU, Memphis, Houston. Those teams aren't jokes.
Yeah.
Pac-12 started this week as well. Oregon blew out Stanford 35-14. Oregon's the only team I really think that has a chance at the playoff from the Pac-12.
What about that USC comeback against Arizona State?
Oh my God, Herm Edwards is probably pissed. I mean, Arizona State did everything right until the last 3 minutes of that game, and they lost. Just not, absolutely not good. They choked those.
Yeah, I actually thought Arizona State would come out and make a statement.
I just lost faith in both teams. I lost faith in USC because of the way they looked the entire game, and I lost faith in Arizona State because of the way they ended the game. So
yeah, it was both ways.
Still, it would have been pretty embarrassing for USC to drop that game.
It was also a hectic ending in the Liberty Virginia Tech game. I don't know if you saw it, but their kicker went on to try about a 55-yarder for Liberty to end it, and it got blocked in return. But before the play was snapped, actually Virginia Tech called a timeout to ice the kicker. So that touchdown didn't stand. They retook the kick, and Liberty made it, and they ended up winning the game.
This is why you don't ice the kicker, fools. Just don't ice the kicker. That's what you should do.
Exactly.
Just oof. Never ice the kicker. After what just happened with that game, I just hope no team ever ices the kicker again. Then the last close game of the weekend, Oklahoma State beat Kansas State 20-18. You know, Kansas State, if Skylar Thompson didn't get hurt, they might have a chance at making the playoff. But, you know, too bad he got hurt. Oklahoma State keeps their faint chances alive. But they don't look like a team that's ever going to blow out anyone. They're just going to win all these close games.
Yeah.
Another
close game was Iowa State and Baylor. Ended up Iowa State in Iowa State's favor, 38-31.
I saw that last pick they had. Charlie Brewer's terrible. And the Baylor without Matt Rule is oof.
Yeah, struggling severely, 1-4 on the year.
And then the last game I wanted to talk about, Northwestern is now ranked 23. They're 3-0. They beat Nebraska. How they're only ranked 23 is beyond me. That's ridiculous. But, you know, nobody ever be respecting Northwestern. It's very possible that the Big Ten West is going to be decided this weekend. The game between Northwestern and Purdue.
It's a chance for Northwestern to make a statement, and I think they can come up top.
I think they will come on top. They've got some decent offense now. Their defense has been great. I think this is the same team that they had a couple of years ago. They were, scoring. They weren't scoring a lot, but they were scoring a decent amount. They were wrecking teams defensively. No, that's
Yeah,
what
man. I
I
think looking ahead to this weekend's slate of games, there isn't that many competitive ones. I mean, everyone was looking forward to the Alabama LSU game, but that got postponed today.
There's Michigan, Wisconsin. Maybe Michigan pulls a win out of their butts. That would
I mean,
definitely
you
be
never
pretty
know with
hardball.
this Indiana surprising team.
They should put the Northwestern Purdue game as the Saturday Night Football game.
So what do they have as the? Oh, they have Wisconsin, Michigan.
Yep. I don't know about that one, but Michigan might just win because Wisconsin hasn't played in forever. If the fools at Wisconsin hadn't gotten COVID, you know. But I think that's it for today. Anything else to add?
I think we covered it all.
So, we will be back with you later this week, maybe next week. We will see. I'm Idrees signing off, and this is Watching the Game.